it's like this whole year, like 2024, a lot of it was just, I don't know. I had to learn so many lessons on my own. Um, I don't know. In 2025, the whole goal is just to apply everything that I learned. I just started school this week, which was cool, and figuring all of that out. And man, adjusting my brain back to a schedule is something I haven't done. And you know what I'm saying? Since high school, it's been 4 years since I graduated. So it's been nice to kind of get back into that mode again. And yeah, that's just the goal. I had wanted a stage name real bad. And which is weird because a lot of visual artists don't have a stage name. They go by their first and last. So for me, I wanted something different. And Ezekiel was actually the first name that I chose. My mom, she wanted to name me Ezekiel when I was born, but my dad, they discussed, they changed it to Malcom. But I wanted to go by Ezekiel because my nickname would have been Easy, which I thought would have been dope. And I got a brother named Imani, a brother named Elijah. It'd have been, everybody would have been E. So I thought that'd have been cool. So I tried that, but it didn't really stick around. So I ended up just randomly choosing Santana. I wanted someone with some cadence, like just with a dope, real chill cadence. So Santana I chose out. And after that, I probably stuck with that for a few years. Like people just started calling me by Santana. I want to say maybe like maybe about a year and a half into the pandemic. After that time, I was really struggling because I went through a lot in high school. And I was really struggling with my identity. I struggled with depression, suicide, just those kind of thoughts as I was just isolated. And where Yves kind of comes into place is that Yves was that mindset that I had during that time where I was, struggling mentally. And I kind of compared it to, I'm not really too religious, but I compared it to just the book of Adam and Eve, that beginning. And Eve kind of being that opposite, at the time, counterpart of Adam. And Santana was that person who I always looked up to and just wanted to chase. Santana I can never fully be, you know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to chase that idea of I can be better. Pandemic, it was crazy because like right before, I want to say 2018, through right up to 2020, me and my mom, we was homeless. So we bounced from place to place. We had left from here, and right after we left, as soon as we got our apartment, I want to say I got it on the 3rd. We got it on the 3rd of March. Pandemic hit right after on the 13th. My birthday was the 10th. So about 10 days later is when they shut down my school and we had to go right in. So for me, it was really tough because I never, right after bouncing from place to place, I never really got a chance to sit and relax and just process everything I had just went through. I went through a lot of traumatic things, and I never really got the chance to just sit back and figure all of that out. So for me, if anything, that's where, when I started diving more into who Yves was, I think during that time, it was the pandemic ended up being a really dark place for me just because I didn't really know how to sit with or process everything that I had just went through. So, as far as my artwork, I made very, very little art. Probably from 2020 to 2021, I probably painted maybe, I can probably count on one hand, probably about 4 or 5 times throughout that entire year from that January to that December. So for me, the pandemic hit me really hard. It made me kind of sit with myself and really, it felt like at the time, it really felt like I was insane. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just going through so many emotions, and it wasn't until, again, around 2022 when I really started to kind of come out of that and get more comfortable and recognize who I was is where that really subsided for me. But yeah. The biggest thing for me, me and my mom, that's my everything. She mean everything to me. So, me and her had our backs against the wall so many times, and I think just watching, not only her just as a woman, but as a black woman, she was working 3 jobs at one point just to make sure I was cool and doing so many things for me. And I just feel like she always kind of gave me that strength just to kind of keep it pushing and going through. If I couldn't think of nothing else that would just keep me going through. It would be days where like I said, I was suicidal at the time and I was going through so much. And it would literally be days where I'm like, no, my mom is expecting me to get home tonight. You know what I'm saying? She expected me to come back in the morning. If that was all I had left to use to get myself through the next day, that's what I was doing. just reminding me myself of that, and just her journey and what she went through, just to make sure that I could at least learn from what she going through. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that was what I leaned on the most during the pandemic. I would say closer to 2022 when I really started to kind of get out of that rut. I finally started going to therapy. I did CBT for a little bit of time, and that really just allowed me to talk through my issues with somebody else. And it was just over the phone therapy, but I think it's cognitive behavior therapy is what it was. And you know, she taught me through so many habits and just different behaviors I can switch up. For a long time, I was really conflicting with both of those identities. You know, for me, it wasn't even just necessarily the name, but just what those names identified with. And again, it was such a big struggle with who I really wanted to be. It was kind of like a tug of war for a really long time. I wouldn't necessarily say either of them won, but it eventually came to a point where I had so many names that I adopted and so many identities that I adopted. I kind of felt like that was more so my strength rather than me trying to figure out who I was and just tug of war with myself. I kind of kept it that way. Like I said, I've created a whole world, you know what I'm saying? The goal is to create a universe at this point, and it's an everyday thing, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I don't really necessarily got to sketch every day or draw nothing every day, but you know, more than likely, I'm in my own head all the time. I'm thinking about what's possible, what has been done, what can't be done, you know what I'm saying, or what I believe can't be done. You know what I'm saying? The work that I do is a everyday thing. Whether I'm looking at the truck that's across from over here, I'm thinking of different color palettes and how I can draw it if I go home, and I'm just thinking about it later. Like I can't not, you know what I'm saying, think about this. I can't, you know what I'm saying? That's why I said I always struggle with authority and things like that, because I just love to, naturally, I've always just challenged those things and always asked so many why questions as to, you know, why I'm doing this or what I'm here for. And I've just always wanted to find those answers. So for me, like I said, it's an everyday thing. I'm 22 years old right now, but this ain't gonna stop even when I'm 60. Like, I'm still gonna be ready to paint or draw or ready to just, you know what I'm saying, just walk through my everyday life with a creative mind. I got to. That's the only way I stay sane, for real.